All right. Hey, everyone. Well, welcome to the Poplar Grove Community Council meeting. My name is Daniel Tuutau. I'm on the board here, and I'm excited to have everyone online that's online right now. Um, we're going to go through our agenda. We're appreciative for everyone to be virtual today. We even had an event that my kids were going to go to a church event, and they're going to spend the evening instead cleaning off the cars. We already made them shovel this morning. I know we are all working on getting out of the snow banks that are our front yards and driveways. But hopefully everyone out there is safe and in a warm place. So we'd like to just work our way down. I'm assuming we might have a few of the people on our list that may or may not be able to be on with us. Um, but we just wanted to first acknowledge the other board members that we have on here. It looks like so far it's Esther, who is the chair. I see is on, and maybe Justin as well. And so we're grateful for all those that are also joining us here. So the first on the docket is our fire department report. Do we have Jesse on or someone from the fire department? Okay, looks like maybe we'll
They were
roll on.
supposed to join, but I think with the snow, there was a possibility that maybe get called out, so they're not here. But I also want to acknowledge Karen and Dan Potts, who are also on here from our board.
Oh, there they go. Great. Um, Next up, we have Detective Oliver for our police crime report.
I am here. Can everyone hear me?
Yes, we can.
Through all the snow and technology. So just want to first say that we made it through the weekend, the All-Star weekend, which was a huge deal for Salt Lake City. 30 years, I think, since the All-Star game had been held in the city. And I think it turned out pretty well. It was mandatory work weekend for the police department. So everybody was pulled off of vacations and stuff to work it. We survived. So that's a good thing. And if there's any questions or concerns or anything that come up, just let me know and we'll address them at that time. We just graduated 19 more officers from the police academy. So they are now in the 15-week range of training with an officer out in the field. So we've got 21 weeks down and 15 weeks to go for those 19 to come online. And I believe there's another academy class that has started up as well. And I think there's 16, but I'm not positive on the numbers that are in that one. For numbers, District 2 has seen year to date 33 total violent crimes. There's been one homicide. There's been 4 forcible rapes. There's been 1 robbery of a business, and then 4 other robberies to include convenience stores or whatnot. There's also been 10 ag assault DVs and 13 ag assault non-domestic violence. So that totals are 33 for District 2. Now, the majority of those are occurring, of course, up in the northern area of District 2. So that's still something we're working on. So total crimes that we've seen just since the first of the year is a total of 232. Well, 265 with the violent crimes, but property crimes has been the significant increase. We've seen 46 motor vehicle thefts in the month and a half since the first of the year. We've seen 92 larcenies and 67 car prowls. So that's just in District 2. Now, believe it or not, those are all decreases from the previous year. We're down an average of about 4% from 2022, which is pretty remarkable, seeing that our numbers are where they're at right now. So that's a positive. Our numbers are down. We're down 20% for total violent crimes year to date, and we're down, believe it or not, 125% for total crimes in general. So that's, sorry, not 125%, 32%. That's 125 total crimes. So the numbers are looking good. If you can say crime numbers look good, but that's the best that we can kind of hope for right now. Are there any questions, concerns that are in the neighborhood or about those numbers? I like this crowd tonight.
Good. That's the response we want when we want things to keep rolling.
Dan, this is Maria Garcia. I do have a question. Can you talk about in the crimes, how many are gang related?
I don't have the breakdown of the gang related. That usually falls to our gang task force. And I believe that they've been out. I believe they've come to our community council meeting, correct? Our sergeant from the gang task force. He's been out before, and I don't have a breakdown of those numbers. I do know that the homicide, I believe, on this side of the in District 2 was gang related. And I just throw out a friendly wager saying that a majority of our aggravated assault non-families are also gang related.
Okay, thank you.
Detective Oliver, is it
Yeah.
possible to have the officer that oversees the GAG unit to visit with us next month? Perhaps
Yes.
to help address that question?
Absolutely. Sergeant Tice is more than willing to. He's also got two officers that are assigned to come out and talk to us. One of those officers is on admin due to a shooting that occurred. So when he comes back online, I'll have them come out as well.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
Great. If there are any other questions that come up, I know Detective Oliver is an open book, so feel free to reach out to him directly. All right. We had a TBD on a House representative. Did we have someone online for that?
I believe they're both unavailable today,
Okay.
and I sent you that text.
Yeah. So it looks like and I don't see her on.
No.
So the mayor's office, Eva Lopez, who is our liaison with Salt Lake City, was under the weather today. So she was hoping to hop on for a little bit, but looks like she's not on right now. We also had possible times for a council member. Looks like he's not on either right now. Sorensen Center. No.
I think everyone is snowed in
House.
today.
Yeah, but the best on our list is the last on the introduction list, and that's NeighborWorks.
Oh, I didn't know that I was on the agenda.
But I think Jasmine's on here, but just was there any news or updates from NeighborWorks that would be good for the council to know about?
Sure. In District 2, we closed today on a home in your area. I can't share the address to keep confidentiality. And it was a home for, I think it was $375,000. And we were able to provide a $40,000 down payment grant, which helped the family get into the home. So we're excited about that home ownership, and we have 2 more in the works. So we're starting to see the price of housing in our neighborhoods come down a little, still not enough, but a little. So we're excited about that. Finally, after many years, we are our Euclid plans. Well, we are calling it Maltaire now, just to make you aware of that. And the reason we're calling it Maltaire instead of Euclid is one of the residents in the area brought to us the history of the bowling alley that used to be there and the social club, and it was called Maltaire. So we wanted to honor that legacy and the history of the neighborhood. So we'll be calling that, in my head, it's still Euclid because it's there, but we'll probably call the development Maltaire Lane, 16 units, and it'll be a mixed income development. And our fingers are crossed that we'll get through the city and break ground in spring. So we're very excited about that. So let your neighbors know. We're trying to keep the cost of the housing as affordable as possible, but as a mixed income, we'll have some market rate and some affordable units, and hopefully a lot of down payment assistance grants. The other thing I wanted to make you aware of is I did send comments to the city council that I was concerned about the updates to the ADU ordinance, modifying it to allow rental units to build ADUs. And my concern about that is that it will continue to increase rentals in the neighborhood, which takes away potential homeownership opportunities. And currently, the ADU requires that if you want to build an ADU on your property, it needs to be owner occupied. So the council is currently considering allowing it for rentals. And I don't know if you all know that there are about 250 units in District 1 and 2 that belong to a lending institution that are all rentals. And these are potential homes that could be home ownership. And so we're trying to work with that particular institution to try and transition those to owner occupied for families. So we're just concerned about that particular ordinance. So I just wanted to share that all with you in terms of where neighbor work stands.
That's great. We love the work you're doing and helping homeowners be our neighbors, which is great.
Well, thank you, but we have some money. We need to get it out there. We only have until June to spend it before the city recaptures it. So let your neighbors know that we have those home improvement grants for up to $25,000. Families need to qualify for 80% and below, and we do have those down payment grants for up to $40,000.
Great. Awesome. And if anyone has more questions, they can always find more on the NeighborWorks Salt Lake website. Awesome. We did have hopping back in our introduction notes. I did see we have Eva Lopez who hopped on here. I know we had already mentioned you're a bit under the weather. Did you have any pressing updates you wanted to share with us?
Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Thanks, everyone, and apologies for that. I'm pretty sure I either have bronchitis or a really bad cold. So,
How dare you get sick?
but I appreciate it. I did want to share. I apologize. I'm going to keep my camera off because I did not really. I
No
don't like.
worries.
I don't like good guys. I'm not going to play. But we had a really good meeting with our food equity advisors today. And this person's their name is Maria Schwartz. I'll put their information here. But we talked specifically, I'm putting the link in the chat, about individuals, whether it's individual residents or community-led projects with groups, about getting this food equity grant out here to different communities and neighborhoods on the west side of Salt Lake City. Please take advantage of this. I'm happy to translate this too. We do have information available in Spanish, but we have an upcoming workshop tomorrow at the Day Riverside Library. So if you want to apply for this, basically what this micro grant would allow is for different projects to enhance community access to food. So whatever you decide that looks like, it could look, I had an individual today reach out from the U saying they wanted to create a small micro garden. And that's something that would qualify. There's other types of programs that would qualify for this too. So if you have any questions, this is the biggest piece of information I'd love for you all to take advantage of. I think it's really important. We have lots of great community gardens, especially for the schools, but this is when you live in a food desert, I think it's important to acknowledge it. And then the next step is to allow community to take hold of it and to help process that. So become a supply chain or an operations that's helping with food resilience in neighborhoods. So that's all I got for you today.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, for anyone that needs that, the information is there in the chat. So hopping back as well, I saw Alejandro hopped on. We have a couple minutes for you here to take the floor for any reports from the City Council.
Hi, Daniel. Hi, everybody. I don't have a lot of updates. As it was mentioned here in the chat, we are discussing ADUs and the conditions to make them permitted use, so you don't have to go through a long process to get them allowed in your yard or in your house. We also looking into learning a lot more about removing some barriers, including what was mentioned by Maria Garcia from NeighborWorks, the condition of that there has to be an owner occupied. We're reading a lot talking to experts all over the country about this. The general consensus is actually that it is the biggest barrier to create more housing, and the lack of housing in our city is obvious, very evident per the prices that we see. So we're still debating quite a bit of this. We're still learning a lot. We're trying to find common ground. How do we enforce our code, including noise complaints, including absentee landlords? How do we enforce the rules of the city while removing some barriers? So we're trying to find some common ground, learning more from experts from Utah and across the country. So looking into that, so if you have thoughts, and if you have more comments about this, please. It's going to be on the agenda in a couple of weeks. There's a lot of debate right now about this. We're getting a lot of emails from both sides, experts, teachers, professors that know about this. Also, community members that been struggling to build wealth, that they own 2 houses, and they wanted to build an ADU in their house, and they couldn't because of this rule. The truth is that Salt Lake City cannot really enforce these rules either. We have an issue with enforcement in all ways and in all the parts of the city because of staff. So we are looking into boosting the enforcement mechanisms so we can actually do it right. So in any case, that's the only thing I can remember right now to report. Again, I'm on a t-shirt because I was cleaning my driveway again for the 3rd time today. So I've been almost doing exercise. It felt like I was doing a workout, but hopefully everybody survived that snowstorm. I didn't lose power. I know that there's a few parts of the district that lost power. Hopefully everybody is okay, and let me know if I can help you with anything.
Awesome. Thanks, Alejandro. Moving on, unless so far, any questions for Alejandro or Maria or anyone or Ava that's presented? If not, we'll move on.
Danielle?
Yeah.
Pardon me. I also wanted to note that Senator Plum intended to be at this meeting today. However, she is tied up at a wrapped up in a committee hearing that will likely go for at least another hour and won't be able to make it, but she does send her apologies and looks forward to participating in future meetings. Just wanted to add that out there.
Great. Awesome. Just double checking, we have kind of our mixed agenda for the public first items here, making sure if we haven't missed anyone, I think we'll move on into Poplar Grove updates from the council. The first one we wanted to mention and make sure it was on everyone's calendar was the West Side Coalition's annual meeting. It'll be held on March 9th at 6 p.m. at the fairgrounds, at Fair Park, in the Grand Building. And so that event is for all the West Side Community Councils. Basically, it's for anyone that lives on the West Side. The coalition is the entire West Side of Salt Lake City. The coalition's board is made up of the community council leaders and other selected individuals. And so this event is the annual meeting where some of the positions will be filled, voting will happen for that. But it's also an opportunity for different organizations to be there and table. So if you have, if you are representing a group that would like to be at this event as in terms of an organization, you can just check out the website, westsideslc.org. And it has some of that information of where you can sign up for that. If you're a normal community member and would like to be involved, would like to come, there will be some free food there as well. The sort of mingle time for the organizations will be from 6 o'clock to 7, and from 7 to 8:30 will be the actual meeting portion. So try to come out if you can, let your neighbors know, let other people in your network that live around you know as well. We also, as always, are looking for more support within the community council itself. So if you live within the boundaries of Poplar Grove, we'd love to have your involvement in the actual board running our community council here. So if you don't have a ton of time, or you just have a special thing that something you're passionate about, bring that. We'd love to bring in and have you help out with whatever you are interested in, or if you just want to help wherever you can, we'd love to have you join us for that as well. Yeah, you could reach out to any of us, to me, Esther, Marissa, Dan, and Karen, if you have any interest. Justin, if you have any interest in that as well. Great.
Hey, Daniel,
Yeah,
I just want to put a pitch in for Groove in the Grove.
please take the floor.
Our date is September the 30th, and it will be from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the Pioneer Police Precinct. So please put that on your calendars.
That's our
And this is Dan. Well, I have the mic. So I just had an announcement that there's going to be a CIP meeting down at the at the city there on March the 13th. If you want to save that date, it's in the evening from 5. It's a 1.5 hour meeting starting at 5:30. It's Zoom or in room 326. I'll be there. Probably I'll go down there and show my face for our CIP proposal for the Fife Wetland Preserve. But there's other CIP grants, and I don't know which ones are on that docket. But anyway, it's March 13th, Monday.
All right, thanks, Dan. Okay, great. We might be a little ahead on our agenda, but that's the way I like to roll the meetings. We now are going to kind of go into, we have several groups that are offering some public presentations that we'll be turning the time over to present to us here. First on the docket we have here is the community grant program. Do we have Todd on? Yeah, Todd.
Yeah.
You're great. So the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you, Poplar Grove Community Council, for having me. My name is Todd Anderson. I'm with Salt Lake City Economic Development, and I'm one of the staff that works on the community grant program, which is grant funding for small businesses, artists, and nonprofits. So I'll just share my screen really quick, just the flyer. I'll go through it pretty quick, so I'm respectful of your time. Can you see that?
Yes, we can.
Okay. So this is funding that's from the federal government, from the American Rescue Plan Act. And it's grant funding that's one-time financial assistance for small businesses, artists, and also like artisans, creative workers, and nonprofits in the municipal boundaries of Salt Lake City. And it's intended to help with the negative impacts of COVID and to help businesses and artists get back to pre-pandemic levels and to recover. Who is eligible to apply? Small businesses, home-based, food trucks, artists, creative workers, and nonprofits, if they want to seek their own funding for their own operations or their own staff, they all are eligible to apply. You have to be physically located in the municipal boundaries of Salt Lake City. You need to be in operation by January 1st, 2020. You need less than 50 full-time employees, and you also need to show through documentation like your tax returns that you had a negative revenue impact because of COVID or the related government shutdowns. We just recently did a phase one that started in September, and we had a community recovery committee, which Esther is actually on as well. Her and her colleagues did a great job. But we're about to wrap up phase one, and we've gone to city council and kind of wrapping things up there. But we are hoping to do a phase two of funding. The definite date of that is to be determined and kind of the details. But we're trying to get the word out as soon as possible so businesses and artists can prepare their documents, get to know a little bit more about the eligibility and all the guidelines. So we're trying to get out in the community, get the word out there so people know that that's coming down the line. You can use this funding if you're approved for such things as wages, mortgage, rent, utilities, if you have a brick and mortar business location, business counseling, you could, or just other documented operating costs to help run your business. Some of the required documents that a business would be required to show is federal business income tax returns. As I said before, we really want to see a documented proven loss because of COVID. That could be a loss in revenue from 2019 to 2020 or 2019 to 2021, but a proven way that we can say, COVID really affected my business. I lost customers and I lost revenue because of it. A W-9, a copy of your business license, and an ID are some other required documents. And there's some other additional, if you're asking for employee wages or benefits, we ask for a couple of other additional documents. So as I said before, I'll just highlight this. We're hoping to do a phase 2. We don't have a definitive date for that or details, but you can contact me or Kathy Rigby, she's the other staff member, and we can put any interested businesses or artists, nonprofits onto an email list to give them updates when we receive them about a phase 2. And then in the chat, I'll put the website and my contact info. And I think I sent Marissa this flyer in English and Spanish this morning. So you can share these flyers with anybody you see fit. Please, get the word out and tell those businesses. Is there any questions for me about what the program is, or, any specifics?
Maria has a question, Todd, if I may, Daniel.
Yeah, please.
So Todd, I'm just curious if you've already, why it took so long, especially for small businesses. This funding is so critical. So I was curious why it's such a long process. And have you awarded the phase 1? And if there are those that were not awarded any dollars, why would you want to make them go through a whole application process? And I just say this because we help several businesses. We encourage them to apply for the funding, and there was a great deal of frustration on their part. And so for me, I don't know if they got awarded or not, but for me to go to them and say, you made it to phase 2, they're going to say, no, thank you, Maria. And so I'm just curious why, if you have phase 1 and you picked your businesses for that, and there were some in the second phase that just maybe didn't meet eligibility for whatever reasons, can't you just pick that group and then try and work with them for that second round of dollars? Because again, these are small businesses that need some help. And, these were funds that we really pushed out, but it's really taken a long time for this process. So I'm just curious about that.
No, those are 2 really great questions. I'll talk to the first question first, why it's taken so long. In September, we opened it for 30 days to allow people enough time. It wasn't a first come, first serve. So if you applied the first day, you'd be the first in line. We wanted people that would want to take the 30 days and get all their documents together. If they needed technical assistance from us, we gave that to them. So that was a 30 days. And then we started, because this is federal funding and it's, public dollars, we had to take those applications to a community recovery committee. And because we had, I'd say over 150 applications that the community recovery had to specifically go through each week, that took about 2 months to do that. Because, it was a weekly meeting. And then getting to city council to go to them and to get questions. And, it is a slower process. But I will say we heard the same thing loud and clear from the businesses ourselves. from Business Alliance, Chambers of Commerce. So we're trying to do it as fast as possible. It's just me and Kathy. There's 2 staff members, so we're trying to do it as fast as possible. I know the Community Recovery Committee was very mindful of that, and they really at a feverish pace went through those applications. At the second question you had was really good as well. And I would say we just presented phase 1 to the city council, and a lot of them had very similar questions. Because for phase 2, we wanted, why we wanted to split it up into 2 phases was to basically give as many businesses as possible. You know, if they didn't hear about phase 1, or if they didn't, you know, have time to apply in phase 1, they could have another chance in phase 2. But I will say, you know, having to do that, all that over again, you know, their applications are still in our system. There'll be a couple of, you know, things they'll have to tweak, and we'll help them try to improve their application. But really, they're not going to have to start from scratch. We'll be able to take their existing application and just make improvements and just resubmit it. And so we're, you know, me and Kathy are here to help. And I know it is a burden, but I think we can try to go through it as quick as possible and make it as painless as possible. Is there any other follow-up questions on that, or?
Thank you, Todd. No, I appreciate that. I would just, again, when people apply, I think be transparent with them and let them know that this is a 5 or 6 month process. That it, you know, it's not a 30, 60, 90-day process, so that they understand this is potential funding, but it's not funding that they should count on.
Yeah, agreed.
May I chime in, Mr. Chair?
Of course, please.
We had quite a bit of a debate about this last night. And when this process was started last year, we decided to do it in a 2-phase. And we also learned a lot. The board, the commission that went through, learned a lot about the process and what we're doing that could be done better. But we also need to remember that there's about 30 new businesses that applied between now and then, between the applications close. So just from the just to be fair, we also need to include them and hopefully in the phase 2 if the council decides to go that way, which is what originally we decided to do last year. But we debated last night quite a bit about making sure that the businesses that applied and they didn't make the cut, and they didn't make the cut. Most of them didn't make the cut because their applications were not meeting, the threshold that the board, the commissions set up. So it is not because we decided or the city decided not to give them the money. It's because they didn't meet some thresholds. So what the debate was part of it last night was to make sure that we don't lose those, make sure that they don't have to start from scratch, making sure that we give them some sort of priority, but also open it up again to the second round. And I think it's loud and clear that we need to set the expectations right. And that is something that I'm going to make sure that we push. We cannot set the expectations wrong, especially with small businesses when they need the money immediately. And so that's where I stand on this issue. And we debated this for a long time yesterday. So if you tune into the meeting, sorry, that was kind of boring.
All right. Well, thanks, Todd. If you don't mind dropping your info into the chat, just in case anyone has a follow-up, that would be awesome.
Thanks.
And thanks for presenting that. We'd like to move on to Jeff Douglas. I see you're on here. You have the floor if you'd like to present about a design review.
I am here. Can you guys hear me?
We can.
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure the mic was working. I'm going to share my screen. Give me one moment.
Perfect.
All right. So first of all, thank you for the opportunity to present. And looks like, oh, maybe I lost my screen sharing. Oh, wrong screen. It's always tough when you have 3 different screens going on, I think. Are you guys able to see this presentation?
Yeah, we see the whole presentation.
Okay, perfect. Sorry, I couldn't tell. It was, anyway. So I just kind of wanted to give a run through of our project here. It's an apartment building that's located approximately on 1000 West and Euclid Avenue. This blue area is the highlighted current site. And this kind of gives you an idea of the context of what is around the site. This is a picture of the existing site. And like I said, it's on the corner of Euclid and 1000 West. This is an image rendering of kind of the front facade corner to kind of show how it activates the street. These floor plans kind of illustrate what we have on the different levels. So on the first floor, we have what I've highlighted in yellow were these community uses. We have a community room as well as a community gym. And we also have parking area back here in the lobby area with all the functions that it will need as well. On the levels 2 through 4, it's a 5-story building. We have studio residential units. And then on the 5th floor, we have a clubhouse space as well as a rooftop terrace. This slide just illustrates a little bit more about the parking. We have 35 units with approximately 9 parking stalls. This slide shows a little bit about the massing that we put together for this. We used kind of vertical planes to break up the facade, and we used a few different materials that I'll show a little bit later in the presentation. Durable materials that will last a long time and add character to the district. Here's a front rendering. We have a vertical stacked brick, fiber cement panel, and then we've made this fiber cement and wood C-shaped element with some balconies. And we have a monument sign as well that'll help people kind of activate the street there. This is a night view showing how we are illuminating kind of around the building to make sure it's safe at night. That's something that's always critical. This was more of a zoning slide that showed how we were meeting our ground floor use requirement. And this kind of goes into a similar discussion. I won't go too much into that, but on this particular facade, I'd like to talk about these wood accent strips. We have a lot of verticality in the windows, and then we use the vertical stacked brick like I mentioned previously. And this is the side elevation on 1000 West, and this is the elevation on Euclid. We also put ample amount of landscaping in, so this slide helps illustrate that on the corner. That way it'll really make a presence. This shows we have this piece of artwork that we've actually integrated into the facade as well. We have 2 different colors of the fiber cement panel. On the Euclid side, we had the gray fiber cement, or the lighter gray, and on the 1000 West side, it's the darker gray. This slide shows the monument sign location, as well as a small seating area that helps activate the sidewalk along Euclid and the rooftop terrace area that I had mentioned previously, which would be a really nice space with some cool views for the users. This is the landscape plan, kind of give you a little bit of a better idea on how we're planning on landscaping around the site. Quite a few trees, lots of very colorful and beautiful landscaping that shouldn't use up too much water resources. This is a slide showing what we mean when we're talking about a perforated metal art piece that's integrated into the facade. This is just showing how it could be a perforated metal undulating panels. And the next couple slides show that the pattern of the perforation could be anything that we decide, but it really creates this kind of unique signature look on the building, which I think is pretty cool. This one's based off a tree pattern. The previous one was based off a ripple. You can start to kind of see how that is, but it's an abstracted image, essentially. And these are a couple more slides just showing the same facades that I had mentioned and the signage. And these last slides I have show a little bit more about what the materials will be, the fiber cement panels, and then the vertical stacked brick on the lower level. And then the wood strips would be a cedar wood, nice light color to contrast everything. And the darker fiber cement, and like I mentioned, the vertical stacked brick. And I think that's all I've got for you.
Well, looks like we're going to have some questions. Well, I guess we'll start off with Alejandro.
So I have a quick question about the definition of street activation. Having a gym and a community room is not what I think of a street activation. I'm talking, when I think about a street activation, I'm talking about something that is an amenity for the neighborhood, not
Yeah,
an amenity for the building itself. So it is, so can you explain how you come up with the word street activation on this building?
Yeah, the gym itself, I believe, is a community gym that could be used by anybody. And Riley can jump in on that one, but that's part of what's required for the zoning on the particular site, that we have a non-parking use for the first 25 feet of the building. So that was our way of creating a amenity use and meeting the zoning as well. So the gym those should be key card access type of thing, and should be available, I believe, to anyone in the neighborhood.
So Jeff, if it's available to anyone in the neighborhood, do they get a membership then?
That's a good question. I don't know that we've talked through the specifics of how that's going to work with the ownership group.
Correct.
And then I have another question for you. I don't know if you've been in our neighborhood much, but that perforated art piece that you have, we have one in our neighborhood, and it is a subject of very, very many.
A lot of people don't like it.
We don't like it in the neighborhood, and I'll tell you where you can go see the one that made this a problem for our community. It's on at the corner of 9th West and 8th South. It is a building that has no setback. It's right up to the sidewalk. The only entrance to the parking is through an alleyway, and it is wrapped in corrugated steel. So I know that the art piece that you have here is, it's probably nice in your view, but for us, it's a reminder of that building. And I don't know how far along you are with your design, but if that could be changed, or perhaps a different material used, it would really go a long way for our community.
Yeah, right now we are talking about an integrated art piece, but the specifics of whether it's made out of perforated metal or it needs to be something that's durable for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it could potentially be different materials, and really still needs to be explored a little bit further. So I completely understand your concern. It's certainly not going to be a corrugated metal looking type of thing. We've actually done some before. We were thinking it'd be more of a stainless steel or a powder coated steel. And something more to give you an idea of things that we have done before on other buildings. Something kind of like that. We don't really want to use the rusted metal look, that's for sure.
Oh, this corrugated steel is not rusted, but it's just an eyesore.
Okay.
Especially with the way that it wraps around the building, and it blinds a lot of people coming out from the north side as they try to turn. That morning sun is usually a big issue over there. I don't think this will be as much of an eyesore, but it's just to kind of give you an idea of what our community has found to be a problem. And it's one of the reasons why we are looking to implement a design element that we would have for developers in the community. so that they know what we do not like.
Yes, I think
That's
the large
helpful.
section of metal will conjure up our feelings about the corrugated steel building, even if it's a really aesthetically pleasing art piece on the side. I agree with Esther. I think that's gonna just remind people that
It's like
that other
trigger
building
people
exists.
of the
Yeah.
trauma of what we have to deal with already with
Sure,
that
and
building over there.
maybe a way to help with that would be to actually turn it into maybe a backlit, almost like a signage piece that either says like Euclid or something in the
Yeah.
perforations, and it's more of a sign piece that could be considered art as well, depending on how the city views it. But and then it wouldn't be as much maybe viewed that way, and it could blend more into the building and maybe just light up, so it's not this bright piece of metal. But I certainly agree with your concerns, and we don't want to have our project, get linked to a project that people in the community don't like very much.
And I see that there's parking in front of the building,
Yes.
but there's also, is that just public parking?
I think
Or is
there's
it
some
permitted parking
existing,
for the
I think there's
tenants?
existing street parking potentially, at least on Euclid, but we have some stalls inside, so you can pull in and park for that particular project.
So you'd mentioned though that there are like 9 spots, but 35 units.
Yeah, the zoning for the city doesn't require you to have like 1 stall per unit or anything like that. And there's also a reduction in the TSA zoning. So essentially it gets reduced down. There's a 25% reduction. And with the studio units, with the current actual parking ordinance, I think parking isn't even required whatsoever. So we certainly didn't want to make a project with no parking. We don't think that's the way to go about this. But we basically put in, I think, enough parking so people can have some stalls, but there is auxiliary parking around. And we only have 35 units, so we're not talking about parking, 60 cars or something like that.
Have you all had a chance to visit with the neighbors around that area?
I've been on the site a few times. I haven't, talked to any of the neighbors personally, but that is something I'd be welcome to do.
So this is Karen Potts, and I'm just curious, how many units did you say this is?
35?
35?
Yeah.
It just seems, I'm sorry, but it seems like 5 stories is way tall for this corner, considering where it's at. I mean, we already, on the other end of Euclid, opposed a building that was as tall as this, and the neighbors were up in arms about it. So I'm just really curious about what the neighbors, what the neighbors that live right there on that block think. Is there anybody on this meeting who is from that neighborhood? Sean Murphy, go ahead.
Got a hand up there. Hey, everybody. I'm in the neighborhood. I'm I'm on Jeremy Street, so perpendicular, but still a very short walk from the project. And frankly, thrilled to have seen the trailer that had been squatted in for an extensive period of time that then also burned down. I was outside cheering when that was carted away, and had always been curious about what exactly anyone with an interest in the property was going to do with the sub basement that had already been poured. Very curious about what that project was originally proposed as, but happy to see something going in. For me, the height issue is a little bit less of a concern, frankly. And I'll tell you, it's because of the transit accessibility that we've got in this neighborhood between the Euclid stop on North Temple and Salt Lake Central. We are in terms of walkability, about the richest transit accessibility of anywhere in the state. Right here between 2 front runner stops not far away, and at least 2 light rail stops. So the density, I think, is all right. Aesthetically, the height is a little bit of a different concern, but I think the long term of everything in our neighborhood over here trends more in the direction of greater height and greater density. I do have a question right along with what Ali was saying, that the point on what a ground floor use is allowed to be or isn't allowed to be. Oh, hi, Andrew. I worked for Andrew for a little while, I think, but it's just in our zoning code. It's what we allow for in all sorts of different mixed use residential, whether it's in a TSA zone or other RMF standard that do require some amount of ground floor activation. Ground floor activation is totally allows for like lobbies in a 1/4 or 2/5 development. That's where you've got 1 or 2 stories of concrete podium and then stick residential construction over top of that, all the light timber on top of podium. That's all up and down Fourth South University. And if you think about what University or 400 South could have been really from State Street going up to the S curve, all of that infill that has occurred and access, I don't know which of the projects along there might have been yours as well. It's not a call out, but I have a background with real estate development too, and I promise you that what the code allows is what developers are going to build to. And so if we've got concerns over what ground floor activation means or community use means, then it needs to be addressed in the underlying code. And I think that's similar to what I would expect to become of the ground floor activation on this property. It certainly appears to be within code. And I'm not sure, are we in, is this in design review because you're asking for a variance?
It's
on
in
the code?
design review for the ground floor use because we're doing the 60/40 exception
Okay,
for the variety essentially.
okay. And I would similarly highlight whether or not the proposed uses on that west facing and south facing corner are going to be terribly activating of the street. At the same time, it's not like we got a whole lot of population density right down here at the moment anyway to activate, but that will be coming. And I think that the building standards that we've got in place today are what are going to be in place for the next 50 years. These are all 50-year buildings, and include kind of in the within a stone's throw of this property that we're talking about, including my house. We've got 1,000 residential units that are not just proposed, that are not just permitted, but are proposed, permitted, planned, financed, and in construction. 1,000 units at least, not even talking about Maria's for sale product that is half a block away from the one we're talking about right now, without any commercial embedded into any of those projects. And I think that it's going to be, it is already a concern, and I think will only become more and more of a concern as time rolls on.
Daniel,
My 2 minutes.
Yeah,
can I just interject there?
please.
Sean, so where have you been all this time?
Well, I got a toddler. I've got this duplex that needs constant work. I've got a very trying to hold the reins of a whole bunch of positions over at UTA where I work. I've got some new positions coming up that'll be posting soon. So if anybody is in particularly real estate development or in station area planning and is looking for new opportunities, UTA's got some coming out. And then I've been the chair of the Bicycle Collective for the last like 6 years, and putting together the final pieces in place as we get to construction on our new headquarter building, which is in the Granary District on 900 South. But have a development project there that got my. Yeah.
Well, go ahead and drop your contact in the chat for me, because I would definitely love to reach out and see what we could do to get you on our community council. I'm
Will do.
very serious.
My wife is putting our toddler to bed, and gladly she can't hear you say that right now. Otherwise, she put the kibosh on it, I'm sure.
We are very flexible. We're very flexible, right, Dan? Marissa, Karen, Dan, we're flexible. We'll work around your time. But we definitely need your voice on our council. So go ahead and drop that in the chat for us, and I'll follow up with you.
You know, what's one more iron and one more fire?
Right.
You know what I mean? Like at a certain point.
Yeah.
But great.
But-
Does anyone else have more
Thank you.
feedback here just with Jeff before we roll on to other topics?
I got a question, if that's okay.
Please, James.
I'm just curious who the I guess the target marketing is for this apartment complex. Like who are you trying to target to move into this place?
So my understanding for the studio type of unit, I know it's since we're talking about it's close to tracks, it definitely could be somebody for the University of Utah. That really works out well in those smaller studio apartments. These days, rent is escalating every single day, so it gives them somewhat of affordable option, and they can even if they had to do roommates in that situation, I think it works out really well for the younger demographic, is my thought, or anybody who doesn't need or wants to even downsize from something they have for something slightly more affordable. Let me be careful with the word affordable, but that was our thought.
So
when
what
we had,
percentage
set up
is
the
gonna be
studios?
affordable?
I'm sorry, what?
What percentage will be affordable?
Well, they're not actually affordable housing necessarily. I'm just saying that since they're smaller studio units, they're not nearly as expensive as a 1-bedroom or 2-bedroom in the market right now, which I know if you looked at anything lately, it's just going up and up and up. So the studio unit is kind of a perfect way to get a lot of, or I should say, more units in a floor plate, and also be able to provide the right amount of parking for the zoning. So I think younger people certainly don't have an issue with more of the open style floor plans.
Okay.
Here's kind of an example of one of them. So the bedroom's kind of hidden behind, and then you've just got your closet, bathroom, and then that's basically it. So it's all pretty wide open with the kitchen. So really simple kind of unit, pretty efficient. It was challenging to get any larger units in this project without having to also have more parking, which the site's only 48 6 feet wide. So that also really was driving the design that we currently have.
Okay. Any more feedback or questions for?
Yes, Jeff, this is Esther. I would love a follow-up from you regarding the gym, it being whether it'll be truly accessible to non-tenants, and if so, if there's a fee to access it for other community members, and how that plays a role in meeting the guidelines for the open community space.
Okay, I could do that.
Thank you.
Okay, then. So, Jeff, thanks for taking the time to go over that. I know it's kind of required to talk to the different communities around the area, but we appreciate getting some insight into that. And then again, if you wouldn't mind, love if you could just drop your some contact info into the meeting chat, just in case someone else has a question offline that they'd like to address about the project and so forth. That'd be great.
Yep, that sounds great. Thank you for your time.
Okay. Awesome. Now we'd like to roll over to our next presenters, which was the Sunday Anderson Westside Senior Center. And so we have Sunny and Jeff, another Jeff, different Jeff, that have the floor for that.
Yes, different Jeff. Yeah, so I'm Jeff Davis with MSR Design, and we're working on a senior center renovation in the area. Sunny, you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, I'm Sunny Hobbs McKinney. I work for Salt Lake County Aging and Adult Services. If you're not familiar, we offer a myriad of resources and programs for older adults 60 and over, from Meals on Wheels to caregiver support to Medicare, counseling, anything you can think of. We'd love to get the word out about it. I work for Active Aging, the Active Aging section, and that's our senior centers. So we offer all kinds of activities for adults 60 and over, for fitness, educational courses. We do have lunches Monday through Friday that are, excuse me, donation-based. All of the programs are free or donation-based that we offer. I work out of the Sunday Anderson Senior Center, which was built in 73, 74, and it looks very much like it was built in 73, 74. So we are really excited for this project to revitalize and offer all kinds of new stuff for seniors in our community.
Yeah, and so that gives you a little bit of context of the project. So it's located at 9th West and 9th South, and we're just starting the design process. And so really our reason for coming to the community council is to get a little bit of input from you and kind of explain what we're doing before we actually jump into the design process. And so this is what the building looks like right now. And part of what we're doing is trying to give it a new look, a new entrance, and then also a renovation on the inside. So this is looking right at the corner of 9th West and 9th South. But one of the things that we're going to do is, this is the inside right now, which is really more of a cafeteria style. But some of the other senior centers throughout the county have started to incorporate a different style of food services, which is really a cafe style. And it looks like I've got an old presentation. Hold on just a minute. Let me grab. Somehow that is not. There's the right one. So we're looking to create more of a cafe style that might start to look something like one of these. And the idea is that it could also be open to the community, and the community could come in and use the cafe. You could get your coffee, get a sandwich, and be able to spend time there. And then for the seniors, there's the rest of the center that they have their programs and activities that are happening. But this could help create an amenity for the community, and also start to create a little bit more activity in this part of town. There is a survey that you can scan this QR code, and we can send that to your community council group so that they can share that with you. It has some questions that are geared towards the community and some that are geared more towards the seniors. But it's an opportunity to start to provide some more input about the facility. And so in addition to a community cafe, there's also community meeting space or activity space that the community could use sometimes after hours. There is could be rentable space to be used. And then of course there are increased senior programs as well. These are some of the issues that we're interested in hearing from you on about the community kind of at large and what things are most important to you as we look at this facility and how to design the renovation of this in order to really become a community asset and to be able to help the community in some way. So where we're online here, I don't know if it makes sense. If some of you want to maybe comment or you could even put some comments in the chat. But we've broken this up into kind of 3 different areas, and we'd love to get your input on which of these issues in these 3 different areas are most important to you. So out of these 5 issues, crime and safety, cultural heritage, elder care, food security and hunger, local identity, and strengthening community, which of these are the most important?
Well, being biased a little bit, I'm just going to speak up real quick. From the community council's point of view, the local identity, strengthening community is a big part of that. Especially the location there is the gateway from Glendale into Poplar Grove. The council just recently had a little project where we created pole banners for Poplar Grove along 400 South. And 900 West is the next sort of place we're going to be eyeballing for that. But the concept of creating a community identity with Poplar Grove, that's a little bit different than Glendale. I mean, we're all the same. We're on the same side of town, but just that sense of creating community pride and strengthening that, and that location is right. That's right on the border. It's the first thing that you're coming after you pass that 9-line trail. That no one knows that they're in a new sort of neighborhood community. So incorporating something with that would be awesome. That sort of Poplar Grove identity, because yeah,
that's great. Anybody else have any other thoughts on these?
Yeah, it's Andrew Johnston. If elder care includes housing, then I think that's going to have to be a massive priority. The reason I think that is because that's a big piece of property that's really underutilized. The parking area to the north, the building itself is 1 story. And I don't know the zoning currently, but my guess is that the city and the county would say that senior citizen affordable housing is a massive problem we've got. And it would seem like a natural location to incorporate a lot more of that vertically, or in the parking lot area somehow. Is that the scope of what you're looking at? Or is this just trying to renovate the interior of the existing structure?
So we're looking to just renovate the interior and give a little bit of a facelift. That's all the county has a budget for. But also to clarify, and Sunny, jump in if you'd like as well. But this isn't housing for seniors. As Sunny was explaining in the beginning, it's really active seniors. So there's a fitness center, there are classes, and it's for anybody that's 60 years of age and up. So a lot of those people are really still active. So it's not housing. And the funding that's been allocated, it really is just for the renovation of the building. But we're looking to try and find ways to incorporate it more into the community.
I understand your scope and scale. I think if you could give feedback back to the people in the county who are thinking through this, that is a big piece of property that clearly would have the services on site that you're looking for. And if you look down 9th West to the north, 3 blocks, the high rises, it's called locally, the city housing authority building. It's a good example of integrating in the community, a building that's not overly overwhelming, but the right size. And a lot of the folks that you're serving there are living in single family homes in the neighborhood, and they really have no way to get out of those. There's no way to turn those over. There's no way to move anywhere else right now. It could be a huge boon just to a lot of folks if that was the
Sure.
scope that the county is willing to look at.
Yeah, we can share that feedback, definitely.
May I, Mr. Chair? The last week when they presented to the Glendale Community Council, I mentioned the same thing, Andrew. So, and I mentioned that this is an RDA district, and the RDA might have tools. And I think you, Jeff, you remember this conversation we had in the Glendale Community Council.
Yes.
So I would love to. I know that that's maybe a little, it's a bigger conversation that we need to reach out, but this is a iconic corner, being the 9th and 9th on the west side, and being the trail right there. I think there is a lot of symbolism, and it's a magnificent site. So yeah, you have many willing partners here. I don't know who we need to. I guess we need to talk to the county a little more, maybe.
Yeah, and if you wanted to reach out to me, I can definitely get you some more information about this. But there are those at the county that are probably a little bit higher on the more of the planning level that would be the ones to talk to and get the RDA connected with the Salt Lake City RDA. But I do think that it would be a kind of a county and city collaboration to kind of start some of those conversations.
Just to jump in, I can put my contact information in the notes here. Feel free to reach out to me and I can send that to the appropriate parties with Salt Lake County. We'd love to talk about it.
So I do have a question. It's Esther. You mentioned that what the changes that's going to happen will make this, open to the community. But I also hear that this place is for 60 and over, and it's not housing. It's just for, I guess, educating folks and having access to certain things. Is that what I'm understanding?
That's correct. What these senior centers really are a social spot. The goal of our senior centers is to fight isolation with people 60 or over. So it's really their gathering place to get together, have a meal together, take a class together, take a fitness class. It's just kind of their haven. And so we're trying to find a balance between a community space where anyone can come in and have a cup of coffee at our cafe. People who aren't 60 or over could purchase a meal during regular lunch hours, but it is at its core a senior center for folks 60 or over. And we're trying to get the message across that it's not. I think people think of senior centers and they just see a bunch of people with canes and just playing bingo all day, and they think of it as kind of a sad center. So we're really trying to get people excited about a place that they get to go because they get a free gym membership, they get all these free classes, they get all these cool meals. The cafe center is what's lovely about that is it's prepared fresh on site. It's not what you think of with your typical senior center meal at a lot of our traditional cafes. The food is delicious. So yeah, it is essentially for the seniors and it's their haven.
So it's like a rec center for seniors.
Exactly.
So, but with what the direction that you're going is that you want to make it more accessible to everyone else as far as the cafe portion of it goes.
As far as the cafe portion of it goes, there's always potential for intergenerational programming with all of the new kind of facilities that we'll have available. So that is always a possibility.
And is there, I don't know if you've had a chance to show what the design will look like aside from the cafe area, but I'm assuming that there's some sort of like separation at some point where the gym and other areas are that not everyone will get access to?
Yes. So
Okay.
We have 3 other centers that have the cafe model. So those typically have some type of a not completely separate entrance, but an entrance that goes directly into the cafe. And then we would just have to work out ensuring that that separation did happen between people who aren't 60 or over, so that they can still feel safe and like it's their space.
Okay. Well, I think this is a great thing. It's any upgrade or positive work in our community is welcome. So
Yeah.
we're excited for this, and we're excited to see that area a little bit more vibrant and inviting. And another eatery in Poplar Grove is absolutely welcomed.
Yeah, I like the, I mean, in my feedback, I love the cafe idea. My dad used to live down the street and would go there to the center. But I mean, again, it's a senior center. Very, I mean, in the opposite sense, it's like, well, I can't go there because I'm not old enough. So even, he was going over for lunch or something like that. I think there'd be like cheap lunches there or something like that. He'd go over like all the time. So having a little bit of that intergeneration, like you're saying, the intergenerational programming. So I think we'll be a fan of any sort of facility upgrades that allow more of that type of stuff. I mean, definitely see the need for the senior center portion of that, but finding ways of bringing in the other generations to connect with it. So like you're saying, it's not just a place for a bunch of old people to go with their canes to sit around. So
It's a place for them too, but for
Yeah.
many more.
Yeah, we're expanding.
Just a quick, sorry,
Go ahead.
Jeff.
No, go ahead.
But I guess it's more for Sunny. My wife and I would actually really like to connect with you. We run the Salvation Army down the street, and we see a growing number of elderly coming in for food security problems. And so we would love to connect with you to see how we can help.
I'd love that. Yeah. Oh, I'm going to put my contact info in the chat. Thanks.
Thanks.
Great. Yeah. So if there's any other questions, I dropped the link to the survey in the chat as well. I'm sure they'd love to get that feedback. But if you have any other direct questions, you can reach out directly to Sunny, who mentioned drop that info in the chat. And moving on. Great. It looks like Nick, are you still on?
Yep, sure am.
Okay, great. So we have Nick here with the Park Ranger program. So we'll turn time over to you.
Yeah, good evening, everyone. Thanks for inviting me. As you mentioned, my name is Nick Frederick. I'm the program director for the Salt Lake City Park Rangers. Just here tonight quickly to introduce them and just sort of talk about why it's a valuable resource for your community and for our city as a whole. Just going to do a brief overview about the Rangers, sort of where they are, where they operate, and kind of what their days look like. So I'll just go about 10 minutes here, and then I'll answer any questions when I'm done. And I'll also leave my contact info in the chat so anyone can get a hold of me if any specific questions or concerns or ideas come up later. So, usually when you think of a park ranger, you think of somebody out in the wilderness. Maybe you think of the hat. We're still working on getting those. But a lot of times it's someone who's friendly, someone who's there to help you. If you have any questions in an environment you either might be unfamiliar with or one that you're very familiar with and you kind of want to get to know even better. So dozens of cities around the country have these park ranger programs. A lot of them are really big cities, like New York City's had one for a very long time. Seattle, Austin, Denver does as well. So this idea has been around for a long time. And our park rangers here are dedicated specifically to our Salt Lake City resources. So that includes the parks as well as our trails and natural lands, preserves, those kind of things. So as Salt Lake City is growing larger, the thinking was we need a little more of a larger and diverse way to respond to various issues requiring different resources and different ideas on how the government responds to the issues that citizens need addressed. So right now we have 18 full-time rangers. They're not law enforcement, so they don't write tickets. We have them work 7 days a week, but off schedule. So 4 days on, 3 days off, and rotate them through. So they're moving around. And they operate out of 4 hubs. We've got Liberty, Pioneer, Fairmont Park, and Jordan over just over by you guys. Their main focuses are public safety, customer service, and education. So they work with a lot of other organizations, both city government and also nonprofit partners, compliance, police, fire, animal services, the homeless engagement response team in particular. That way they're able to help provide resources, be real connective tissue in the city, just sort of adding a little bit of percentage improvement here and there for a lot of different organizations is kind of how we see ourselves. So using, if anything ever gets out of hand, call in compliance or police to do citations, provide resources, try to get folks connected with whatever they need, particularly the unhoused population in the parks. Tried to, the other day when I think it was a Sunday, we couldn't get a hold of any of the homeless resources that were available, but needed somebody to get on a bus really quick and get somewhere to get safe for the night. So the park rangers had bus passes with them that they were able to hand out. So it's just sort of here and there, just trying to make life a little easier for folks who need it, and try to really just improve things where we can. Most incidents in parks don't require law enforcement or anything beyond voluntary compliance, thinking of particularly sort of like dog issues or people misusing park equipment or amenities, people going too fast on their bikes through an area where people are walking or jogging, that kind of stuff doesn't require police or anybody like that to get involved. So that was another part of the thinking behind creating a park ranger program like this. But most of the greetings that they have are very friendly. A lot of it's just sort of saying hi to people, seeing how they're doing, if there's anything they need in the park. And then, like I mentioned, interacting with the unhoused population, particularly in the wintertime right now. The program got up and running last summer, very end of the summer, like July, August. So we still haven't quite made it through a full year yet, but already seeing just a really big shift in the way the seasons dictated what it is that we're focused on. So in the warmer months, more focused on dog compliance and park rules, especially in certain parts of the city. Working on doing a lot of programming now coming up to try to just really enrich the experience of people who visit the parks frequently, as well as those who are visiting for the first time. And then also improving park activation, just getting more folks out and about, sort of really, these are big, community assets, and trying to get as many people using them as possible. So I think it's a really valuable resource for the city and for your community, meant to enhance our public safety, provide customer service, and educate the public on proper use and interesting information about our parks, trails, and natural lands. So if you see a park ranger out, please say hi. They're very friendly. It's exactly what they want to do, is talk to people. When we were looking to hire folks, a lot of it really boiled down to people with good interpersonal skills who we thought would represent our cities well and be valuable members of the citywide community out in the park. So please say hi to them, tell them what you're seeing, ask them what they're seeing. And if you have any ideas or anything to bring up with them, they'd love to hear it. So really encourage you to get in contact with them or with me. So yeah, we just want to be a positive force in the city, especially on the west side. We're currently housed in the public lands building, but we're moving over onto the Jordan River into the carriage house at the Fisher Mansion. So that'll be pretty exciting. We'll be really involved in the Jordan River area. So hopefully you guys see us out and about. Thanks again for inviting me to speak tonight. I'm really excited to speak with any community council I have, or I can, and you guys are so close to where we operate out of. So this one was particularly exciting. So
Nick,
if anyone has any questions, I'm open to that now.
Are the Rangers the one in the yellow and black coats?
No,
Nope.
they're gray, sort of summer outfits are gray and winter outfits have been black. It's a little too black. We realized afterwards it was a little intimidating in the wintertime, a lot more in the summertime. So we're hoping the hats will help with that.
I think park ranger hats would be excellent.
Yep. That's the look, isn't it? Yeah. We definitely didn't want to copy some of the other spots, but I think went a little too far in the other direction with a couple style choices. But
Got to protect those picnic baskets, right?
yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's
Yeah,
great. And
so-
especially when you move over, you'll be in Poplar Grove there at the Fisher Mansion. So it'll be right there, right in that neighborhood where we've been discussing all the new buildings going up. So
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I see those every day. So this has been an interesting conversation to listen to.
yeah. Awesome.
Yep.
Does anyone else have any other questions for Nick? Okay, well, we're glad to have this. And so how new is this program?
Just got off the ground last summer, so less than a year. Yeah, it's been a real trial by fire, but we got a good group that really wants to do well. So that's been the most exciting part. Also, we have a generic park rangers at slcgov.com email. I'll put that in the chat as well. That's the best way to reach us at any time, since we, like I said, we're kind of on a split schedule with the rangers when they're out patrolling. So if you contact that email address, it'll get seen very quickly, and we'll know who to contact who's out in the field and closest nearby.
That's great. Yeah, the parks are such an integral part of building of communities. So we're glad to have a new option for, yeah, like you're saying, we don't need a bigger police force to make things work there. Having something like this is a great in between. So
yeah, just working on solutions. So appreciate it again. Thank you so much for inviting me tonight.
hey, thanks. Awesome. Well, we're moving now into the last section of our meeting, which is just the public comment and open discussion. So for this here, basically it's open up to any pieces of topics of interest that should be discussed, whether it's, anything that's weighing on your mind for our neighborhood, parks, open space, lighting, commissions, board, preservation, homelessness, housing. If there's anything that hasn't been discussed yet so far that anyone would like to bring up, now is the time. Well, we just want to make sure that we have a little bit of time every meeting. We want to make sure that those that are attending here to the community council meetings have an opportunity for their voices to be heard. So it's okay to not have anything to say. That's fine too, but we just want to make sure that that this is an open time. We will do this every time we have community council. It's a big part that the board has been working at to try to create opportunities to hear what's going on in the community. Any other thoughts from the other fellow board members or things that we might have missed? Oh, one thing I just want to mention, it's not right in our neighborhood, but we also wanted to mention, right, our neighbors over in Ballpark have their the Ballpark Next initiative going up with the bees leaving. There's a lot of public land that needs to be decided upon. And so there's a competition going on. We're a little over halfway through that. You can find information. I'm dropping it into the chat as well. For the that Ballparks Neck initiative, they're having different contests and different tiers of award money going out for different ideas, but that's for approximately 13 acres of land and what's going to be eventually done with that property. So although it's not in Poplar Grove, having a say or knowing what's going on with our local neighbors as well is important. Well, everyone, I'm not one to drag it out longer than we need to. We're finishing a little bit early here, but that's okay. Better no one likes a meeting that goes too long. Everyone loves it when it goes short. So with that said, we'll wrap that up until next month. Again, feel free to reach out to any of the council, the board members, if you have any topics that need to be brought up, or if you know of anyone, any programming that would like to have some FaceTime with our community here. Anything to add, Esther?
Yes, Daniel, thank you so much for leading the meeting. I appreciate your work and all that you do for our council. And to everyone else, good night. Thank you for being here and have a wonderful evening. Bye.